Hi, everyone. Welcome to your market update. My name is Vinnie, and this guy over here,
Erik Sandstrom, Prime Lending.
you look right above him. It'll give all the good stuff right there. Now, thank you guys for being here. I know you come here for the wealth of knowledge and all the information you provide, and just looking at these beautiful faces, right? Kind of, maybe not. All right. Well, anyways, all right. So this is the week for last week. Okay, this is the question for last week. The to win $50. This is the question. How much is the least expensive detached property sell in Ranch Santa Fe so far this year? What was your guess, Erik? What's your guess? Least
Uh,
expensive.
I think I was gonna say. I think it was somewhere around 400K.
In
Was
Ranch
it three
Santa Fe.
sixty?
I'm gonna give you a reference point here. For people watching, this is what you're dealing with in Ranch Santa Fe. So we're talking
Oh,
about
Rancho Santa
the
Fe.
median sales price in Ranch Santa Fe this year was 4.4 million, right? Uh, Last year was 2.9. All right, so let's go back to you. Ranch Santa Fe. What do you think the least expensive detached property to sell in Ranch Santa Fe was?
All right, RSF. I'm gonna go with 750 because there's got to be a dump that somebody picked up.
I wish it was there. 1.6. Least expensive. Okay.
Just
Now
double it.
we'll switch it up. How much did the least expensive detached property sell in Escondido so far this year?
360.
All right. Well, I'm not going to give the answer out. Text below for your chance to win $50. Can be off by a little bit, but your chance to win some money. All right. Now, today we kind of want to talk on below. You'll see the ticker giving you updates on active properties, pending properties currently in the market. Not a lot has changed since last week. We're at 1,400 properties. Pending properties have trickled up a tad bit. Yeah, look at the ticker for all the good stuff. But we wanted to talk to you today about the appraisal gap, right? So something I know I get, and Erik can correct me if I'm wrong, if what he might get differently, is people go, oh, well, I'm already getting an inspection from the bank, right? I usually get this more from military. They're going to check it out. The bank wants to make sure their asset is protected. So they want to make sure that you're buying a property that's worth the cost that you're buying it at, right? The condition of the property, they're not doing an in-depth inspection, nothing like a home inspection. They're doing it to assess the property and make sure their asset is protected, right? Now, talking about the appraisal gap, why don't you jump into what the appraisal gap is, Erik?
So appraisal gap is basically, well, it's happening often now. I've had one recently where a borrower purchased a property in Florida, actually, to separate the market for 550,000, and it came in 85,000 short on the appraisal. Probably one of the highest appraisal gaps that I've seen, or differences, I should say, right now, that I've seen. So basically, what an appraisal gap is if the property appraises for, let's say, 350, but the purchase price is 550, that borrower has to bring in the difference from the 550 to the 350, and then they have to make a down payment as well on top of that. So the down payment is based upon that lower amount as well. So not only do they have to bring in the difference, but also the down payment and closing costs as well. Are you seeing that a lot with your listings?
I mean, not all the time. So to give you a reference point for people walking in on this, is usually what happens, right? Usually what happens is you have basically the appraiser calling the listing agent to coordinate a time to look at the property. Now, if you find out there's a discrepancy in what the property is appraised for what you're purchasing for, and your next idea is to get on the phone and yell at your lender, that's probably not the best avenue for most part. There's an arm length understanding that they're not having direct interaction with that appraiser because, and Erik could talk about more about this, there were issues in the past where people go, hey, I'm not paying you unless you actually get this property appraised at this price, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So what happens is the realtor, right, the listing agent, provides information to the appraiser. Sometimes the appraiser will take it, sometimes they won't, but maybe informing them about the community because there's a big difference, like Erik knows, and a lot of people probably listening know, from city heights to normal heights, yet they're right next to each other and they're a block away from each other. So you could basically, if you appraise the property in normal heights using comps in city heights, you're probably going to get a different value there. So you want to make sure your appraiser knows what's going on there. And so if there is an appraisal gap, right, then you can actually have your buyer's agent or the whoever put together comps going, hey, Mr. Appraiser, you know we're in normal heights. We're not in city heights, right? Here's some comps to support it.
Right? Yeah. Have you had to do that recently at all on some of your properties with providing?
No, I mean, when we're on the listing side, we make sure that we're there for the appraiser to give them all the information, provide the upgrades to the property, provide every kind of fact that they might need. Because again, these appraisers, they get busy too, they get slammed, and if you can help them out as much as possible, it'll make their life easier, your life easier, and everyone's life easier. Now, when we're on the buying side, we try to make sure that the listing agent is going to do the same that we do. If they don't, and they don't tell us that they're not going to do that, and we come back, we get an issue that comes back, or we get tidewater or something like that, then we'll put together those comps, that list, and then lay it to the appraiser. Now, if you do get a big gap, like Erik was talking about, where you're talking about 550 and 350, well, first off, you're doing 350 and 550, there's some issue going on there. And you could probably go back to the seller and go, hey, there's a gap right there. You know, how can we make this work? Maybe we'll come up in price a little bit. You come down in price. How can we make this work? So you can negotiate it. Sometimes they'll take it. Sometimes they won't. It's really on your agent, the seller, the buyer, whoever might be involved.
I know with my buyers, real quick, Vinny, what's going on with them is when I get a call from an agent, or let's say I make a phone call to the agent when an offer is being made, that terminology is used within that conversation with me, and they'll ask me, does the borrower have funds for an appraisal gap if it's needed? And luckily in San Diego, I haven't had much of a gap, if anything, to be completely honest. Everything's been appraising. But that discussion is being had, and but our appraisers are taking into consideration the lack of inventory, things like that, let's say in addition to the comps. So that is providing a little bit of a higher value than what the actual comps are because of the lack of inventory and what's going on in the market.
If you're banking on the appraisal to come in to protect you, because I hear this from a lot of agents, a lot of clients, where they go, oh my gosh, well, we can offer, 200,000 above list or 150,000 above list, but we got the appraisal to come in here, and the appraiser is going to tell us actually what the property's worth. To do that, you're putting yourself in a rock and a hard place, right? The most appraisers that I've dealt with usually will take where the property's at currently and assess it from there. But so they'll at least know what the property's under contract for before they assess what they feel the value of the property's at, right? Now, if they're going that direction, they're getting swayed a little bit by what the property is under contract for, right? So again, we're all human, and if you went drastically above, just like, hey, Erik, I'm trying to sell you a car, and you're willing to spend $5,000 in your head, and I go, hey, Erik, how are you doing today? So you're looking to spend what, $8,000 in your head, right? I go, Erik, you're just $8,000, and then you tell me, oh, you're thinking in your head, I wasn't gonna say 5, but shit, man, he just said 8. Okay, I'll do 6, right? And now I've already swayed you up by $1,000 when you're originally looking at 5, right? I mean, it's the same idea when they're copying out a property. So don't bank on the appraiser to bring you down to a more realistic number. Assess the property, feel comfort in that property, know what's happening there. Now, if there isn't an issue with the gap, and if you do have funds and you do love the property, things like that, that's another thing. But don't bank on the appraisal to bring you down.
Right.
Probably words of wisdom.
Well, I always ask the question, what is a property worth?
Yeah.
And the answer to that should be what somebody's willing to pay, right? So ultimately, that's the That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, we've hit our 10 minutes, 10 minutes of jam-packed excitement, I would like to say. If you have any questions, text below. If you want to try to win, and I've got my phone buzzing a little bit, so we might have already had a winner, but text below for your chance to win $50. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, again, text below. My information, Eric's information is below. We'd love to help you out. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. And who's your pick? We'll finish off. Who's your pick for the Super Bowl?
Bengals.
Bengals. I'm also going to go the Bengals. So I know it might be kind of homerish, but I'm going the Bengal. And I'm going to say the final number is going to